basically leading off with the subject that was pushed to the meeting, pushed to the workshop from the last meeting, and that's discussion of sunshine law and discussion of employee treatment. I think Mr. Gibson has something that he wants to say.
Yeah, because this was something that I kind of was brought into in the fact of that I was the one that originally received that anonymous email. I got a few comments that I wanted to make in regards to it, and to make sure I get my information straight, I'm going to probably read some of this off. But there was an open letter that made multiple accusations against 2 employees, and I first want to offer my apologies to those employees that nothing was done to stop that from happening or addressing it better at the time. I second want to address a few blatantly preposterous statements that were made as facts with those accusations. TWRA is not offering guns and rubber bullets, and the city doesn't keep files on citizens for employees to dig through. You know, that alone discredited the email to me, and from to quote from the last meeting, the lady called me again. She was upset because a curb had been put in front of Emily Wood's driveway. She was concerned that the flow of water would shift that side of the road to the dirt that supports her brick wall, and it's a large brick wall, and I was told there are caves behind the property. So the first thing there is that we do have a city manager form of government. You know, if you had something about that, you could have asked, and instead of going on private property for that. And it was a dispute between 2 neighbors that was aired out at the meeting that could have been handled without having been read. I received that email. I implied that I ignored it. I received a second and third, and I gave my phone number to the person making these claims, because third-party hearsay or third-party information is hearsay and gossip. Ms. Vossmer, you made the claim that there was a citizen being discriminated against, and that's a very serious accusation. If they're being discriminated against, I'm sure Mr. Peavy can give you a better explanation of that person's legal options, but it's settled in the courtroom. We were elected to represent the 5,500, not one person. It's not in the people's best interest to have that hearsay read as the gospel at the last meeting. And was this addressed with the city manager, with Ms. Wood, also being a citizen that you were elected to represent? Did you hear her side of the story? You implied there was wrongdoing in an open meeting without having a full idea of what was going on, and that's a dangerous line getting close to defamation. You dismissed any possibility that she may have a grievance. Were you aware that the city had done that in other instances? And do you know Ms. Wood inquired about seeing if she needed a permit to make sure it was done correctly, and told her that the city would handle that? The refusal to communicate with the city manager entirely caused this board to have a conversation that completely derailed the meeting. One of the greatest things about having professionals like Mr. Housewright and Ms. Woods, the department heads, is that this city runs like a machine. To imply that the city manager sits and conspires way to wreak havoc is absurd and unprofessional. The curb was handled the same way it was 12 other times over the last few years. It doesn't take an act of Congress and the BMA to get things done in this way. Same thing with the light that was discussed. If it was on the city's bill and it shouldn't have been, then it should have been removed, and that's the end of the story. The fact that in this process to investigate this great act of discrimination, and Mr. Wood or Mr. Housewright wasn't asked about it, it's shameful. If you want to attack the city manager, just come out and say it. It's been 6 months since we've had that story run in the paper. I'm sure we're overdue one. You implied we didn't have faith in the system. Can you explain where the city manager failed in his duty? I asked the city manager probably an annoying number of questions about a range of topics to make sure I know what's going on, to be better educated on the challenges we face, and to get his opinion as a professional. Just because somebody doesn't like the answer doesn't mean that there's a nefarious plot against them. Just because someone doesn't like the answer they're given doesn't make it any less valid. We have a city manager when left out to dry in the sewer department stepped in and got us through it. The city manager presented us with an $80,000 surplus in the budget. The city manager has put together a great team of department heads who keep this city going and safe. A CMFO who, when the city manager had to dedicate his time at the sewer, she was able to fill in and do his job and not miss a beat. If you have valid claims to lodge against the city manager, I encourage you to do so. And although it's unprecedented, in my opinion, if God forbid anything happens to the mayor, we need a succession plan, that someone who can work with the city manager instead of against them, and someone who understands the liability for the sunshine violation. And so I'd like to place on the agenda that we may open the floor for nominations for the vice mayor at the next meeting.
All I was trying to do was to find out about Brenda Parker, because she came to the office and talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then she called me.
Can I interrupt 1 second? Please do not call a citizen's name.
Okay.
I mean, just say, a
This
citizen, because
person.
we know who you're talking about.
This
But
person
we
came
don't
to the office
dispose
and
of
talked to
houses.
me, and then she, called me, upset, said that she had been treated very poorly by Mr. Housewright.
What did I tell you about that?
I don't know, I'm just telling you what I was told. And then she called to complain about the curbing. Well, when we have no rain, it seems strange that there would be a curb put up there when we're all praying for rain, so I wanted to go there and look at it. I couldn't understand why there was a curb there. But it didn't seem to be an issue. Best I could figure out, you can't tell till it pours down rain what's gonna happen. But if it does run on her property toward that brick wall, it's gonna be an issue, it really is. Then what are we gonna do? But I never intended to say anything, that was the funny thing about it, because there's no way to determine what's gonna happen till it rains. And it's not raining in Mount Carmel. And I take offense to your letter, John.
I understand.
I was given that letter, the person who wrote it came to the office and gave it to me, because she felt like you didn't care.
I
Well,
understand.
again, they should never come to the office where you work.
Well, it's not a good thing, but it happens.
I know, but you should put a stop to it because that's not good for the town to.
Well, they pay their bills, Pat, and then they start.
But still, yeah.
The question that still remains, why was I not asked?
Really, Mike, after she made such disparaging remarks about you, that you wouldn't listen to her, that you told her she wouldn't be getting the light back, and you knew her husband was sick?
That's hearsay, though.
No, I kinda doubt that.
Because she made such disparaging remarks about me,
Vice Judge.
I would again ask, why did you not come and talk to me about it?
Because I really didn't think that she would do anything about it. And she got her light fixed, so I thought that was the end of that too. She got it back. So that was the end of it for
No,
me.
it was not the end of it. You read an email in an open meeting disparaging me and another employee. So I think that in the course of the past 4 years, I would hope that I have earned enough respect that before casting these allegations my way, you would pay me just a modicum of respect and come and have a conversation with me. I would say the same thing about our employee, that you would pay them just the tiniest bit of respect before showing up to their house.
But
Before you bring up anything at a meeting, if you've got something to squabble with him about, or me about, or John about, or any of the rest of these, you should go to this person first and tell them what is on your mind instead of waiting to a meeting. We're not getting anything done because we keep going over and over and over with the same stuff.
if he hadn't brought up me trying to violate the sunshine law when I proved the other time you accused me of that, I proved it in the next meeting. When we had that class, all I was trying to do was find out information, and you told the employees not to talk to me. You don't think I took that personally?
No, look,
Yes,
I have
you did.
not told the employees not to talk to you. I have never told the employees not to talk to you. And again, if you had paid me a lot of respect and actually told one employee was that there were certain questions that you were asking that were best addressed to the city manager.
All I was asking was how the place worked. Those parks.
That's why that we have got an engineer come in and do the work that he's doing now. We don't need to be up there looking and seeing what's going on. When we're not engineers, we don't know anything about it.
In this form of government, should, if functioning properly, I should be the point between the workforce and the board. I am the point between the administration and the politics. I have worked hard over the course of the past 4 years to keep politics out of the workforce. I've worked hard to keep the workforce out of the politics. The way this is supposed to work is that I am that channel by which your all's wishes get put into action. With all due respect, you don't need to know how the pump works.
I want to know how it works when I have to vote on something that costs millions and millions of dollars instead of feeling like an idiot when I read through the manual. Yes, I do want to know how it works.
There's a perspective in which the board has value. That perspective is in a broad oversight of city functions and making policy. We might as well just go ahead and get into this. Why?
I can't.
Why? Why put our employees through this? Why come to an employee's house? Mr. Gibson contacted me with the same questions. He had the same things communicated to him that you had communicated to you. And about 3 minutes of my time and Mr. Gibson's time, I had answered all of his questions, and no one had to suffer the indignity of having board members in front of their house on a Saturday morning.
I went to that person's house who had made the complaint, got out, went over there, walked over there, and looked at the little piece of tar, whatever you call that stuff. And her daddy came out and started talking to us, and I said, well, I've heard there's caves in this area. The water's gonna run to where the cave's at. Do you know anything about it? I don't know that he did.
Can we read this real quick? When we refer to him as Mr. Wood and not her daddy, it's kind of disrespectful.
Do what?
Refer to him as Mr. Wood and not her
Oh,
daddy.
okay. I don't know her name, last name, to tell you the truth.
Maybe you need to get to know her.
He was a nice man.
There again, had we had a conversation, I would have told you rather quickly that the presence of a cave in her backyard is completely irrelevant to anything other than her personal business.
I was just saying that the water would run toward the cave. If you had handled it better with the person in concern, I would have been up there to begin with, Mike, if you had called the lady and discussed the little thing.
How do you
You're assuming he
know?
did.
How do you know how I handled it? You have
But you
already heard-
didn't talk to her about the
It's hearsay. I mean, it's
No,
really
she didn't
hearsay.
tell- I talked to her, Pat.
Yeah, I know you
You
talked to
didn't
her,
talk to her.
but you didn't hear what was going on.
But did you talk to her about putting that curb up? No. And when you talked to her about the light, I don't really want to know exactly what all you said to her. She said you were rude.
I'm sorry that she said that. I'm not going to address what she told you when you haven't had just the slightest bit of respect to have a discussion with me. We shouldn't be having this
Well, you
discussion
do.
right now.
This
No,
was
we
a
shouldn't.
neighbor
You
to
had
neighbor
brought this up
against
when we
neighbor to
met.
neighbor, and it should not have ever come to this.
If he had handled it better, he wouldn't have.
You don't
Pat.
know, Vice Mayor,
Well,
you don't
did you
know
hear it?
how I handled it. You have not the slightest idea how I handled it. You only know what the
One side.
person you talked to said.
It was upset by nature. It was upset by nature, but also throughout a whole bunch of things that doesn't even apply. I mean, I drove by and looked at it. I didn't even turn down the street. I drove by and saw the asphalt that was there. And there's no way it's going to, without some force of gravity assisting it, transfer across the street. So it's one of those deals that it was a moot point just by looking at it.
Well, you might thought you could see it that well up there on top of the hill. I didn't feel that I could. My husband went with me. We looked at it. We didn't think it's going to be an issue.
But I went alone.
Well, I
You know what I'm
took
saying?
my
That's-
husband with me.
And Darby.
and Darby to look at it. I wanted somebody with me other than just myself.
You shouldn't have ever asked another,
Well, believe me, I
alderman.
won't again.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not the only one that everybody in this town feels like they have to turn to, Pat, when there's an issue, because
They don't, cause I get issues, I get calls, but I go to the right channel. I go to the supervisor. I go to the supervisor who would have to deal with that and not me trying to deal with it. This is just, something like that is setting up us for loss.
What the town did, not me. I just had nothing to do with it.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I mean, it's unfortunate that an employee got involved in this.
Yes,
But, I mean, if you take the employee equation out of it, it's just another driveway in the street,
Right.
on the street.
Yep.
Which I never got the email, but I would hope in the future, if Mike, you get contact of any kind that something might be happening like this, can you notify us?
No,
You don't wanna do that?
no, I can't do that.
You
I
can't-
can
you
spend
can't-
my time addressing the issues of the city, or I can spend my time telling you about all the unhappy citizens that aren't happy with a street light, a pothole,
Now, wait a minute, we're going down the
a
wrong.
curb. You know,
I'm talking
it's-
about like this email that you're talking about that,
I didn't receive the email.
okay. I thought you.
I got the email sent directly to me.
and I get calls all the time. Does that mean I have to call every one of you all and tell you all?
No, you take care of the problem.
But I do take care of the problem. I go to the supervisors.
But here-
I'll say, let me give you this phone
But you
number.
created the problem,
No,
Mike.
I didn't.
Yes, you did. You took the light away from the
Vice
woman.
Mayor, you don't even understand the problem. Because to date, as of right now, we have still not had a conversation about what the problem is.
My Lord, how, we aren't having a conversation now? For the last
No, it's
All I
calling,
understand is
throwing
that
swords.
was one
The
side.
only thing that I've come to understand here is that, with all due respect, you don't know what the problem is. You don't understand that you don't get to call aldermen and arrange meetings. You should not, and maybe you can, I agree, but you should, I would think, understand. Don't go to people's house. I didn't say you couldn't.
Well, did you,
Just-
okay,
just
that citizen contacted you.
Yes.
Did you even think about contacting Miss Woods about and asking her what happened?
She was on vacation.
Well,
That-
she
I
hasn't
mean,
been
that
on
would be
vacation
even
for
worse
3
than where
months,
we're
and
at
it's been
now.
going on about 2 or 3 months now.
Well,
So, I mean,
if you
you
need that-
haven't got it, have you ever got her opinion on it?
on the light. and
I
the-
don't know, it's a light now, it was a
Oh,
driveway,
yeah.
now it's a light. So what is it?
Have you had a discussion with the employees about anything?
No, why would I, when it seems like you all were.
Because that's what you do when you assess a situation, is you
Right,
look
she's
at
going
every
up, of
single
course.
angle and make a collective decision, or that's what you're supposed to do, not just take one side of the story and run with it. You look at every aspect of the story.
Well, that's what I tried to do, Mindy.
Well,
I went
then
up
you
there,
would have called him, you would have called Miss Wood.
not Mike, I wouldn't have called Mike, I could have called Emily, I could have called her,
See,
Mike, I wouldn't have called.
It's
but
right
not
there,
Mike,
because when we
because-
have something, I let Mike know too. You know, and he most time lets the supervisors deal with it, and if they can't deal with it, then they come to him. That's what his job is to take the complaints and deal with them. He knows more about it. He's been to school for the job he's got. But somebody's always cutting him down because they don't like something that he's not, it's nothing but still yet a power struggle, because
I repeat myself one more time, Pat. Please listen to what I'm saying.
I'm
The
listening.
lady said he told her she would not be getting the light back. Is that not what you said to the lady, Mike?
I said the city would not replace it.
Well, she got it back. She got it back on her own.
Yes.
Is she paying
Which
the
is her
bill?
prerogative to do.
Yes.
Well,
She's paying the
she
bill.
can, and she's paying
paid
for
But
it.
It shouldn't be on the city's bill.
if she had been told in a cordial manner, none of this would have happened. It wouldn't
She
have
obviously would have
happened.
been upset. I mean, if we're going off hearsay, she would have been upset because she didn't get the lot back from the city.
I have no idea what I communicated to the residents.
This is the very reason that we can't get nothing done and our names in the paper all the time. We've been going over this and over this and over this.
You have spoken to one person that is unhappy with a decision that I made and decided that you have a full understanding of what transpired.
This is the first problem I've had to deal with, and with the sewer when I wanted to see how, I have the right to walk over and look at that. Why would you say that any of us here on the board don't have a right to go and look at the sewer plant? Why would you say that?
I've never said it's wrong.
You just did.
No.
Yes, you
No,
did.
I did not say you had no right.
Then what did you say?
Certain questions need to be asked, you know, because he knows more about those questions, right?
Do what?
That
Question.
certain questions should be directed to the city manager.
I don't,
Rather
the
than-
only questions I wanted to know the answers to were how the equipment worked. I
Can we
wanted to
move on
understand the
off of
process
this?
of
I
how
mean,
a
because
sewer worked.
this has been,
Please, Pat.
every month. Every month.
Which,
Drop
the way I
this
see
whole thing.
John, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a sunshine law issue.
Correct.
It was brought up and put out in a public meeting twice now. So our
Cured.
violation or whatever is cured. And now we're to the point that we got an employee involved in something that I
As a
don't
neighbor.
really know nothing about, and that's what I was saying earlier, I'm trying to wrap my head around. So, the way I see this is an issue between Mike and Teresa, in a roundabout way of how to, what sources to go through to communicate stuff.
Well, who's the manager here? Who's the
That's
city
what he just
manager?
And
Who's
it's
getting
none
paid for
of,
the sewer manager?
the way I feel this, it's none of the rest of us concerned with how each of us communicate. So I think y'all need to talk in private on that, if that's,
His door's
I mean,
open
we're
all
gonna
the
sit here and
time.
argue back and forth over,
Well,
I mean,
and I apologize. I don't mean to be argumentative. And that's, this is something that I feel strongly about because guys, we fight the workforce. And they have not simply fallen into the positions that they have fallen or that they presently occupy. I have assembled this team. I've had 3 finance officers. I've had 4 police chiefs.
You'll have to talk louder for me, I'm losing my hearing.
These personnel did not fall into the position that they are. They were put in a position. I built the team that was closest to me. I've had 3 finance officers since I've been here. I've had 4 police chiefs. I've had 3 fire chiefs. And I will tell you, of those people, I would take any one of them with me anywhere I went. We have the best workforce that I could possibly hope for. And well, since we're on that subject, I received a call last week from someone who saw a video online, and it speaks to Sunshine Law and it speaks to treatment of our employees. And remedy again for the Sunshine Law is to air it out. And this behavior cannot continue in the manner that it has. we're going to find ourselves without a workforce. We're going to find ourselves without any of the team members that I've assembled. And let's just, I apologize, let's just watch a video.
Am I in the way, Honorable House Right, sir?
Well,
I'll be glad to move, sir.
I don't know about being honorable, but.
Oh, you're very honorable, sir. Very much intellectual, too. Like I say, I'll move mine down my head.
We may let the board approach in case there's a problem hearing this. Guys, I don't know what to do.
We're recruiting for part-time club. They don't even try to get recruits. And when they do get recruits, they get them.
This was on Mr. Bobo's sound check. The last meeting. I had a citizen call me and talk to me and ask me if this was in fact a sunshine law violation.
And then people get, we're recruiting for part-time club. They don't even try to get recruits. And when they do get recruits, they give them a new year. And the people have been there for years, they get elsewhere. And the people don't like that, you know. I mean, the new guy comes in, you get that's not on. There's going to be a loose wrestling, he's about ready to quit. He got over there, July 6th, and they do training every week. They won't training, do training. I do training, I'm not even training myself. Nothing to do. Our chief can do a lot better job over there. I mean, he just got it from a paycheck, that's all he does. He fought truck we got about a year ago, and still haven't got that part of the name of it yet. They haven't picked up like that. It's out of service now. But yeah, he's just here for a paycheck with it. You're way too careful. I know. It won't be long. As long as they got 3 votes as far as block, 1 week, 4 week block.
So there are 2 issues present here, and I'm going to go ahead and Chief Lyons, would you like to address the issue?
Yeah, I just got it. First off, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this issue. I'll keep it very brief. I'm going to be reading this just so that I can remain on topic and professional. I was notified a short time ago there was a video I needed to view in a public forum, which included the Vice Mayor and Aldermen, where they were having a conversation about me. This is the same video you just viewed and recorded by Mr. Bobo prior to the last BMA meeting. When I first viewed this mini video, I was shocked, angry, and quite frankly taken back by it. I've been the fire chief of this town since 15th of July 2019. I have given my all for this town and this job. I will not get into what's been accomplished since my time as chief or elaborate on the goals that we've yet to achieve, because that's for a personal and private matter. If you'd like to speak with me, you're welcome to. I will, however, tell you that this position means more to me than just drawing a simple paycheck. My family, who chose not to attend tonight for obvious reasons, was also taken back by the attack on my character because they have seen me drop everything to attend to city business while at home, on vacation, or even in the middle of the night, and even at 2:45 a.m. My team that I've helped assemble, is a very dedicated and professional group of men and women that I am available for at any time they need me. And I feel honored and blessed to be their department head. I feel that I have made myself readily available to any board member who calls. I've received calls from all of you, or requests a meeting with me to discuss any issue they may have. But for two members of the VMA to use me or my position as a fire chief to leverage votes, to me, is ethically and morally wrong. Thank y'all for letting me talk.
Thank you. What are the three?
Do it.
I don't know.
I'm out and left.
Alderman Patrick, the contents of that discussion was Alderman Patrick making a case for why the fire chief should be let go, should be something, that he's just here collecting a check. He didn't say it, but I'll say what our fire chief has done. He got us through coronavirus. He was my number one advisor throughout the pandemic. He stayed abreast. He has a degree, and apologies if I get this wrong, I believe it's environmental health. He worked closely, monitored the pandemics, monitored CDC recommendations. If it had not been for him and him working so closely with me, we probably would have had to shut down operations in several key departments. We had 18 air packs expire this year. It was going to cost $90,000 to replace them. Started turning over rocks. He found 9 that were donated by Eastman. He saved the city $45,000 in that one thing. Our city has an ISO rating of 4. To achieve that kind of rating for a community our size is a huge accomplishment. I will tell you that rating, when we first achieved it, was not sustainable. There were things that we received points for that were just flat out false. We were evaluated last year. He secured us an ISO rating of 4. Honestly, he busted his tail to do it. You all, or the previous board, passed a policy just for ISO points. He turned over every rock and got the points we needed to maintain that ISO 4 rating. I have stood in the middle of the fire department at 3 o'clock in the morning and watched him run command when the city was flooding. Half of the city was dark due to power outage, and take care of everything. He's a part-time fire chief. He has never failed to pick up the phone when I've called. He has been nothing but responsive. He's one of my key advisors on the wastewater. He is an integral part of my team. You all are having conversations, putting my team members, my leadership team, in the line of fire. If we lose them, I can't replace them. There's nobody waiting in the wings. That's what I said. He's my third fire chief. I've worked to get him in place. The same with Chief Lunsford. He's my fourth fire chief, or police chief. I have worked hard, and I've made tough decisions to put him where he needs to be. And these guys, along with our finance officer, she's our third finance officer. And I will tell you, I couldn't ask for a better finance officer. She can be city manager. She is every bit as competent as I am. When I opened that job, we had 2 real applicants. I brought one of them in. It was immediately apparent that they weren't working out. I went to Miss Wood and could not be happier. Her performance is far beyond anything that I would expect from a finance officer. These people leave. Guys, you've got no administrative power left. There's nobody waiting in the wings. We can't get police officers to apply. You think somebody's going to knock on our door, a quality candidate, and want to be our police chief? Our fire chief, part-time. He's paid for his position over and over. Same with Miss Wood. I feel that it's incumbent upon me to tell you that if you all continue to treat the employees this way, you're not going to be able to find a janitor to lock the door when we all leave. And you're not going to have a workforce. This form of government was put into place to address these very kinds of actions. And I don't know what needs to happen. I don't know if we need to go back to the drawing board and to have a vote on whether you all really want a council manager form of government, or if you want to go back to strong mayor.
No.
Because these type of political shenanigans and this type of treatment of our employees is exactly what this form of government is supposed to stop. Now, I just ask that you treat our employees better. Now, the other issue that we have with this video is a legal one. And that is, if you can't hear it, I will encourage everybody to go to Mr. Bobo's page and look back at the video.
What is that page?
Yes.
Oh, it's Hawkins County.
It is very clear on there that Alderman Patrick states they have 3 votes. With our 4 votes, we can block them. That's illegal. You cannot count votes. You can't coordinate votes. You can't have those discussions. It's just illegal. It's illegal and it's unethical. And I don't know how many times that we can have this conversation about the Sunshine Law before it ever registers.
How many times are we gonna talk about it before it's a real thing?
I mean,
How many times are we gonna talk about it before it's a real thing?
with that, I will, and I realize that, you know, the conversation I'm having right now, tough as it may be, and I hate it, I really hate it, and I really hate the fact that
That's here.
I'm having a conversation with what could be the fourth vote to fire me. But if I don't have this conversation, I'm not doing my job. And I would rather get fired and do my job than to lose it for playing it safe. Because I've had to play it safe sometimes over the course of the past 4 years. I've tried to act with principle and with integrity in all things. And I have made compromises on certain personnel decisions that I wouldn't have if I knew that it wouldn't cost me my job. I've made those compromises, but at some point you stand on principle, you talk about doing what's right, you talk about what my job requires and what is expected of me. You know, anybody that has a relationship with me and has conversations with me to any degree understands that I am what you would call a true believer. I am in this profession because I believe it to be a noble profession. I don't lie. I don't cut deals. I don't do underhanded things. My position as city manager was created for the sole purpose to bring honesty and integrity to local government, to make sure that governments perform with integrity and they perform at their best. I have two primary objectives in my job. It's the two things that I focus on. We'll say three things. One, create a high-performing administration, a high-performing delivery of services. Be responsible. Second is to provide our employees with a good place to work. Because if we don't provide them with a good place to work, we won't have employees. We won't have quality ones. The third thing, and the thing that, and I said this in my interview, and it still holds true as strongly today as it did 4 years ago. They asked me what my goal is, or what my goals are. My goal every day is to lay my head down with a clear conscience. There is nothing that I do that I can't explain if given the opportunity to do so. I don't mistreat anybody. I have too much respect, not only for our employees, but also for our citizens. Generally, for my fellow man. To be guilty of the things that I've been guilty of. I mean, the email that was read was distributed under the headlines or under the message of elderly abuse. Since I've been here, I've been accused of elderly abuse.
That's what
I've
that
been
title
accused of
was.
shooting cats.
Elderly abuse.
You know, I have 5 feral cats at home. I'm not gonna shoot a cat. I have been accused of all kinds of things, and so have our department heads, anybody that works close to me. And it's hard for me not to take it personally when I work so closely with these guys, and knowing that they do their best for the city and for me and for you guys. Like, I don't know of a single employee that, if asked, wouldn't step up and go above and beyond. Guys, that deserves your respect. And I promise you, if you don't give them that respect, they'll go. And I can't replace them. Because once you break that trust, and once you break that relationship, you don't get to build it back. You know, the statement was made a few minutes ago that you think that they're just too comfortable. Alderman, I assure you that nobody that works closely with me is comfortable. Because anybody that works closely with me feels like they have a target on their back at all times simply because they work closely with me. These employees have my respect. I would hope, and they've earned my respect. I would encourage you to respect them. If you don't, then you're going to lose respectable employees. You're going to lose the best employees that I can imagine.
A question. The votes were to fire you because if that, I'm not saying they were, but if they were, wouldn't that be the same instance that Stevens lawsuit?
Well, retaliation.
Yeah.
The votes were actually about Jason, I believe.
Well,
Wait a minute,
the video, I
What did you
don't.
just say? I'm sorry.
The video doesn't speak to the vote.
Not necessarily, that's true. I couldn't tell from the context.
But that's, you know, that's all I can say. And you know, I believe
Oh, yeah.
my moral compass and my professional obligation is fulfilled by saying it. And from that, I'll back away from the subject.
I would like to say something on behalf of the employees that are citizens of the town, which I've been in that position at one time. There's a lot of eyes that watches. If anything is done around your property, your neighbors are saying it's favoritism. I mean, I've been there and done that. I drove a truck home one night plowing snow, and they accused me of plowing my driveway. So, just kindly watch what you do as an employee, because eyes are on you. Not by the board, but by the citizens.
There again,
And really, it shouldn't be, but it is.
a 3-minute conversation with me would have addressed
Why,
that.
you say that over and over again, Mike, why don't you call us? Why don't you call us?
I didn't know that you received a complaint about a carbon in front of a citizen's house.
You did because John contacted you.
Because John got the email.
Yes, John contacted me because he received the email. He
John
asked
didn't know
me
you got the
questions.
email though.
Yeah, I had no idea you got the email.
Yeah.
Alderman Gibson.
So both of you got
because he had
the same
questions.
email?
Yeah, I read the email, I didn't do anything with it, I responded to her, she felt like my response wasn't adequate, so she passed it along to Alderman Mock,
Yeah.
or sorry, Vice Mayor Mock. And then that's what was read at the last meeting. I got that email 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I read it, looked into it, we talked about it, and found it to be nothing that was even remotely considered to be something that was on the board's level. I mean, we're talking about a street light and a curb. Yeah, that's really where this started from, was a street light and a curb that has consumed how much time of how many board
That
meetings?
wouldn't have if Mike had called me. Why can't you call me?
I didn't know you had questions about it.
Until you brought it up. I didn't know you had questions until you brought
But
it
John
up.
called you. He knew. John knew, and he called
It
you
wasn't
and
even
told
that
you.
needed to be addressed with the board.
Huh?
Alderman Gibson knows that he can't call.
But it's
No,
also something that
that's
wouldn't
not
have
what
been-
I'm saying.
It's not anything
I'm
that
saying,
would've been
why
addressed
didn't
with
you
the
call
board.
me that morning and tell me, or that evening, whenever he called you and said, this is what has happened? Instead of trying to accuse me of violating the sunshine law again. Why didn't you call me?
He didn't know you got one, he said, until
I didn't
John
know I
called.
needed to.
He knew I was gonna go look at it, but because John told him, Pat. John called Mike and told him.
After I got the text, I called Mike and told him about the meeting.
Yeah.
Her question
Yeah.
essentially is why did you not take it upon yourself at that point to stop it?
Instead of-
Alderman Monk,
Because it has to be
I walked you
addressed.
into my office one time and asked about your questions about the sewer. You raised your voice to the degree that everybody in City Hall heard you and said, I don't have to talk to you, Mike. That was verbatim what you said.
I said I didn't have to talk to you. I wanted to talk to people who knew about how it operated. You didn't know how it operated.
Yes, I do.
He works up there.
Maybe now.
He's been up there a long time. Before you came on board. I came in one day and I was downstairs. He comes in, he's stinky because he's got blue jeans and stuff that had been up there. And so I asked him, I said, where you been? He said, well, I've been working up there helping those guys.
But do you not think that people that have worked there for years don't know more than you?
Do you think that as a city manager, I may
Is this
be
a
able
pack
to,
day for Mike
I may
again?
be able to provide perspective to the governing body that the person working in the sewer department may not be able to?
I don't really understand your point there.
Okay, well, I withdraw the question. I will conclude with this. Vice Mayor, with all due respect, I cannot, and nor can I be expected to answer questions that you do not ask me.
But I'm just saying, in response to your saying, we don't call you, you don't call us either.
No, I'm out there doing my job. Now, if you have a question, I have talked to board members at all times of day and night. Mayor Jones, I have called him at 3 o'clock in the morning because as mayor, we had something unfolded and we needed to figure out. I am always available to board members. That is all that I can give.
Well, on a positive note, just this week, downstairs, there was one of the ladies told me, said that Miss Woods, there's not a dime that goes out of this place. I was down there signing checks, and she said to me, there's not a dime that goes out of this place that she does not know where it goes. And Mike does not know where it goes. She knows where everything goes, and you know everything goes. Now, that was what was said to me downstairs.
I just wanna know what votes we were talking about, is what I'm curious about. Because that is a legal issue, that would end up being a legal issue, so that needs to be addressed.
I'm still lost
We
about
have
the
to-
votes myself.
In order to cure the violation at a public meeting, which I guess this technically counts, we have to have the contents of the conversation out on the record in front of everyone. That's the way you cure the Sunshine Law issue. Talking about voting is something that we shouldn't do. I mean, it's harder to say you're deliberating towards voting more than talking about votes. You know what I mean? That's something that can become quite a problem. And I was talking to a city attorney from another town just the other day, and all city attorneys worry about Sunshine Law. It is what it is. But he had seen some of the things in the paper that we've dealt with, and he told me, this is obviously anecdotal, but he told me that y'all are going to get in trouble. Eventually, something is going to happen, and the town is going to get in trouble.
Well, what were these votes about? It's still not
I
been
have no
answered.
idea, Mayor. I don't know. I wasn't.
This is the first I've seen it.
I don't know. So. But that's just
I
an
want to
issue.
go back to the Sunshine Law. When we had that class, did you not admit that I had not violated the Sunshine Law? You said, well, it's just a slippery slope.
No, if you
did.
would have had the meeting with Mr. Arnold and any discussion of the sewer plant in the future had come up, something that we knew would be voted upon, that would be a violation. And it would be a serious one because the sewer plant is a multi-million-dollar endeavor. And the thing that I don't want to have happen is the lawsuit, if a lawsuit were to come up. But beyond that, an injunction from the court where we have to report all of our goings on to them, that's a costly endeavor. An injunction not to violate the Sunshine Law again, or further sanctions could be levied upon the town. Or, say it's a lawsuit from an individual that we can't win, if say we lose, and then we have to pay their attorney's fees. And that comes directly out of our coffers, which the taxpayers fund. I don't want to.
So what you're saying is, if this had happened, it would have been a violation. If it had happened.
Distributing, I think also distributing the documents is also not good. That could be deemed a violation as well of the law.
A drawing of the sewer plant.
If you're distributing it to people for the purpose of or like orienting them about how the plant works, or in a way that could be seen as I was told directly from MTAS that could be seen as deliberation towards a potential vote on sewer activities. And my hands are tied on this because the only thing I can do is highlight the issue and hope that nothing happens. I mean, I don't have any control over the situation. All I can do is say, hey, we probably shouldn't do this, we probably shouldn't do that, or we definitely shouldn't do this. You know what I mean?
Like, to me, it's like kitty with the sky is falling, the sky is falling. This is basically what I'm hearing, that we just stay away from each other.
That's what I'm paid to do. That's what I'm paid to be. It's a person that says, hey, let's avoid trouble at all costs. Because we can accomplish the things that could potentially get us in trouble in a public setting or through the proper channels, then there's no reason to risk it, right?
Well, I kept trying to get Fred to come here, and the night I had him to come here, I didn't know that the public wasn't going to be allowed. I wanted him to educate everybody.
And I understand that, and I'm just saying, I have to be hyper conscious about potential liability. That is my duty, honestly, to the town. It's my obligation. And ethically, I'm bound to bring these things up when they come to my attention.
I want to ask a question of Mr. Peter here. So open conversation like that, could that not be used against the town in any situation? Because, I mean, yes, it would be, there's no validating what the conversation matter was. So could it not be applied toward anything towards negatively?
I think it would be hard.
But I mean,
Because
still,
they would
but
have
there's
to be
other
able-
instances of not this board, but the other board making clear votes, that we just settled on. It's along the same lines of
They'd have to
we
be
don't want to
proven.
even make smoke, because that's ultimately what I'm getting at.
Well,
You know,
it'd have to be proven. I mean,
Right.
Before there's any.
right?
But it is I think, honestly,
Slippery slope.
well, if we're gonna have votes, holding a robust discourse on the things to be voted on is good.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Have everybody, unless it's something that, somebody comes and explains to us and everybody hears them and agrees and votes, then I think it is a good idea. Or unless we've had a discussion at a workshop and discussed an issue and then, just kind of talked about the issue back and forth, and everybody has shown up to the meeting with their minds ready to have the vote. They've gone and they've thought on it, they've developed what their position is, and then when that issue comes up and it's an easy thing to go through, you just vote on it. But I think that on the whole, having a robust discourse, having a back and forth, and fully discussing the issues before we vote in an open meeting is a good idea. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
So I guess just don't talk about votes.
Or anything,
Well,
basically.
any matter of public concern. That's the thing. It's y'all can talk about church or the Vols or the weather or how high gas is, anything in your normal life to your heart's content, you know, and I've got no problem with it.
I'm gonna throw this out just for meanness. When the lady from T-Deck was over there, and I was there to listen to and try to understand what was going on with her, Pat showed up, so I want that out front with everybody.
But yeah, you know, it's just, I know that it seems trivial. I don't deny that it seems trivial at times, and I get that. But it is a lot more important than it seems, just because the implications could be heavier. I mean, you know, from the video, for instance, if, say, the fire chief took some action against the town, then that could be used as potential evidence. Or if action, adverse action was taken against him, potentially. I mean, I don't know, right? There's possibilities, and we're speculating, obviously. But
Well, I missed something, Teresa.
we
Now,
haven't.
when you said that, just for meanness, what did you mean by that?
But because it, like John Peavy said, it seems trivial. You and I didn't, you just listened to the lady best we could listen to her, and then you said, I want a copy of your notes. Now, what's the big deal?
No, and if y'all didn't
We're
discuss
two of us were
Of
together.
her notes.
And if y'all didn't discuss
Of my
it-
notes, not hers.
I was gonna say.
No,
y'all
I didn't ask you for your notes.
Yes, you did, Pat. She
You
wasn't.
gave us your notes anyway.
Huh?
You gave us your notes anyway.
No, this is what I wrote down while that lady from T-Deck was trying to
Well,
tell
anyway.
us stuff.
Well, I mean,
But I'm just saying
No.
that this is how, the nonsense, this is, and
So in
I
other
understand
words,
what
just
you're
for
trying to
meanness, you're just throwing me in there to get clear of your own self?
No, Pat, I'm saying how trivial this is. If somebody wanted to say something, who was over there with you, there you were.
I
There,
will say,
and what did that amount to? Nothing.
I
Didn't
will-
amount to nothing.
I will say that talking about voting is more serious. So that's something we really need to steer clear of. Just because it, you know.
But I am offended that because I was trying to do something to educate myself for making a choice for this town, I feel like you attacked me by saying I had tried to violate the Tennessee or the Sunshine Law. I feel like you were doing that as a personal thing. Then, when I wanted to go up there and look at that little curbing, because the lady had called me very upset and disturbed, how do you think felt like I could talk to you when she was pointing her finger at you?
Well, I would say that it is your responsibility to talk to me. I am the person that you all pay to do this job. Secondly, I will say, you know, flat out, that nothing is personal with me.
Well,
No. Let me respond. I spent roughly 18 months working with a mayor that at every turn tried to fire me. And at some point, we established a relationship. And when we did establish a relationship and work together, then we went forward and we had a productive relationship. Now, unfortunately, there were things that removed him. But there's nothing that I do that is personal. Everything that I do as city manager is based in professionalism. And it is my professional obligation to tell you that you are breaking the Sunshine Law.
no, I was not. Because when I talked to the MTS lady, she said I had not violated it, and I'm going to talk to another one, and we'll be the same thing. We didn't say a word about the curb. My husband did all the talking.
You can't call meetings outside.
It wasn't a meeting. It wasn't a meeting to go look at a curb.
I'd
We
like to
just
share
wanted to
how
see
this
what.
was explained to me, and it made a lot of sense. You know, I had trouble with this back several years ago, the Sunshine Law. There's no Sunshine Law police.
It's integrity.
There's nobody gonna tell you or can tell you that you're breaking the Sunshine Law.
We should be policing ourselves.
It's when that person overhears or sees that and they actually file a complaint through the court system and then you get the subpoena to come to court, you know you broke the sunshine. That is the way it's explained to me, and it makes sense. Just like Mike and John, they can tell us what is a violation, but there's nobody that can accuse you of it until it goes to the court system, until you actually file that official complaint on somebody.
That is the way it's enforced. It's
Now,
true.
if that's,
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way it's
yeah.
explained to me, and I kinda understood it a little better,
That's the way it's enforced. I mean, that's definitely true. But, and I just, we've, over the town's history, it has been somewhat litigious. So that's why I'm on high alert sometimes, When I got here, we were under threat of lawsuit all the time, So if I'm jumping at shadows, it's solely because I want to make sure the town doesn't end up getting served with papers to meet somebody down at Chancery Court.
Well, to relieve your mind, I won't call anybody when I'm asked by a citizen, and I will go check it out, because I feel that is their responsibility to see what they have to say and to listen to them.
I appreciate you.
That, I will definitely do that, because I'm tired of being accused of trying to do something that I am not trying to do. I'm not trying to garner votes to do this or that. I'm trying to serve the citizens of this town. And I had a lot of people call me and tell me thank you and to hang in there.